The night was quiet, colder than usual, and the small street behind the food shop was almost empty. Ethan Walker, a simple human who lived alone in a tiny apartment, stepped outside with a warm plastic box in his hand. Every night after dinner, he saved a little food for stray cats and dogs. It was his habit, maybe even the only good thing he felt he did in this lonely life. He walked toward the narrow alley and placed the box on the ground. A soft smile appeared on his face. "Come on, little guys," he whispered, expecting the familiar sound of tiny paws running toward him. Nothing came. The silence felt wrong. Ethan slowly stood and looked around. The wind moved lightly, making the trash bags rustle. A soft chill ran down his spine. He suddenly felt watched. Not by one creature, but by many eyes. He turned and froze. At the other end of the alley stood three girls. Not normal girls. Not human girls. They were thin, shivering, their clothes torn as if they had escaped from something terrible. Their skin had faint glowing patterned soft lines like starlight moving under the surface. Their eyes were not one solid color. They shifted like galaxies. Their hair floated slightly, even when the air was still, like invisible energy surrounded them. All three stared at Ethan's food. One of them stepped forward. Her steps were weak, almost painful. Her lips trembled before she spoke. Is that food?" Her voice cracked with fear and hunger. Ethan blinked. His first instinct was to run. Every story, every movie, every warning told him, if it doesn't look human, stay away. But these girls didn't look dangerous. They looked broken, terrified, starved. "Yes," Ethan finally replied, his voice unsteady. "It's food, for the animals." The smallest girl swallowed hard. We are hungry too." Before Ethan could react, a loud metallic sound echoed from somewhere behind the buildings, like a heavy machine powering up. The reaction from the girls was instant. Their bodies flashed with bioluminescent panic light. Their breath turned sharp, and their eyes widened with terror. "Hide!" The tallest girl whispered urgently. "They are near." Ethan frowned. "Who?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her entire body was shaking too hard. The sound grew louder. A cold, humming vibration moved through the air. Ethan felt it in his bones. Something was coming. The girls crouched low, covering their heads. They looked like children who had learned fear through pain. Ethan's heart pounded. His mind screamed to run away, to save himself, to leave these strange girls and pretend he saw nothing. But he couldn't. Their fear looked too real, too human. He took a slow step toward them. "Hey, it's okay," he whispered. "Come with me. I'll hide you." The girls stared at him as if the universe had glitched. A human, an ordinary, weak human offering help? "No," the middle one whispered. "If they find you with us, they will kill you." Ethan swallowed. His voice was quiet, but firm. "I don't care. Come on." For a moment, none of them moved. Their glowing eyes watched him, confused, unsure. After a long second, the smallest one nodded and took a shaky step toward him. The others followed, limping and exhausted. Ethan led them out of the alley, moving fast but silent. They stayed close behind him like frightened kittens following. The only warm light in darkness. Every street felt dangerous. Every shadow felt alive. The metallic humming continued, sometimes far, sometimes frighteningly close. They reached Ethan's apartment door. His hand shook as he unlocked it. "Inside," he whispered. The girls slipped in like ghosts. Ethan closed the door gently and locked it. For a moment, everything was still. The girls stood in the center of his small living room, staring at the warmth, the lights, the soft carpet under their feet. The smallest girl touched the table with surprise, as if she had never seen anything so simple and safe. Ethan spoke softly. "Sit, please." They hesitated, then slowly sat on the floor, too afraid to relax. Ethan opened the leftover box again and placed it in front of them. Eat. He expected them to grab the food like wild animals, but they didn't. They looked at each other first, then at Ethan, as if asking permission again. Finally, they ate. Quietly, almost respectfully, their hands trembled. Their eyes softened. Their glowing skin dimmed to a calmer color. Ethan watched them with a mix of worry and shock. After a minute, he asked, "Who are you?" The tallest girl looked up. Her voice was barely a whisper. "We escaped." Escaped from what? Before she could answer, someone knocked on the door. A slow, heavy knock. The girls froze, terror returning instantly. The smallest one grabbed Ethan's sleeve. "Please, don't open. They found us." Ethan stared at the door, heart racing. Whoever stood outside wasn't human. And this was only the beginning. The heavy knock echoed through Ethan's small apartment again, slow, controlled, and dangerous. Not the knock of a neighbor, not the knock of a friend. It was the knock of someone who already knew what was inside. Ethan's breath tightened. The girls pressed closer together, their glowing skin dimming into frightened shades. The smallest one, Lyra, hid behind Ethan's chair, her hands shaking like leaves in a storm. The knocking stopped. A new sound began, a deep, metallic hum. The same one they heard in the alley. The tall girl whispered, voice cracking, "Ethan, they are hunters. They track energy." "Our energy," Ethan whispered back. "Stay quiet." He moved slowly toward the door. Each step felt heavier than the last. He pressed his eye against the peephole and felt cold fear. Two figures stood outside. They looked human on the surface, brown coats, gloves, blank expressions. But their eyes were wrong. They didn't blink, they didn't move. They watched the door like machines waiting for a command. One lifted his hand and spoke in a flat voice. "We sensed unusual activity. Open your door." Ethan stayed silent. The second hunter leaned closer to the door. "We will not repeat the request." Inside, the three alien girls held their breath. Their faint glow pulsed in panic. Ethan made a fast decision. He stepped away from the door and whispered, "No one makes a sound." The hunters outside waited. 10 seconds. 20. Then one of them dragged a metal device across the door. It emitted a sharp whining noise, like electricity searching for heat. The girls gasped. Ethan signaled for silence. The whining stopped. A cold voice said, "Wrong apartment. The energy is faint. They must have passed this floor." Their footsteps moved away, but slowly, like predators who never truly leave. Ethan waited until the hallway became silent. Then he exhaled a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Lyra looked up at him with wet eyes. "You protected us." "Why?" Ethan rubbed his forehead. "Because you were scared. Because someone had to." The second girl, Rena, studied him carefully. "Humans don't help us. They sell us." Ethan stared. "Sell you? To who?" She hesitated. Her voice fell to a whisper. "The hunters. They work for the collector." "Collector?" Ethan repeated. Rena nodded slowly. "He finds our kind. He takes us. We don't return." The room fell into a heavy silence. Ethan struggled to understand. He had never left Earth, never met aliens, never imagined the universe could be this cruel. He crouched beside them, speaking softly. "Listen, I don't know what you've been through, but you're safe here for now." The tallest girl, Sarah, shook her head. "No place is safe. Not for us. Not for you either. They scanned our energy. They will return." Ethan's mind raced. What was he supposed to do? He was just an ordinary human with a small apartment, no weapons, and barely enough money for himself. But when he looked at their faces, tired, scared, bruised, something inside him hardened. He wasn't going to abandon them. Not now. A sudden bright flash interrupted his thoughts. The girls snapped their heads toward the window. A red spotlight swept over the buildings outside. Sierra whispered, "A hunter drone. They're scanning the block." Ethan peeked through the curtain. A floating machine glided silently across the night sky. It looked like a metal insect with glowing sensors. He stepped back. "They're searching door by door." Lyra trembled. "Ethan, if they catch us, they will take you too. They erase anyone who helps." Ethan clenched his jaw. He didn't want to die. He didn't want to get involved in alien problems. But the idea of giving these girls up felt worse than fear he made. His choice. "We have to move," he whispered. "Right now." Sierra looked confused. "Move? Where?" "Anywhere they won't think to look," Ethan said, grabbing a small backpack. "But staying here will get all of us caught." The drone's red light hit his window again. There was no more time. "Follow me," Ethan said. And for the second time that night, the fate of 3 alien girls rested in the hands of a quiet human who never wanted to be a hero, but had no choice. Ethan moved quickly, leading the girls down the narrow stairwell of the apartment building. The lights flickered overhead, reacting to the strange energy around the alien girls. Lyra held Ethan's jacket tightly as if it was the only thing keeping her alive. Outside, the drone's red spotlight swept past again. Ethan waited until it turned away, then whispered, "Run." The 4 of them moved into the shadows behind the apartments. The cold air stung their faces. The city felt wrong, too quiet, too tense. Like something unseen watched every movement. They reached a dark alley near the dumpster when Rena suddenly stopped. Her glowing eyes widened. "They're here," she whispered. Ethan looked around. "Who's here?" Before she could answer, the ground beneath their feet vibrated. A strange deep hum rolled through the air, not like the drone's soft whir. This was heavier. "Alien." Sierra whispered fearfully. "A drop capsule." "What is that?" Ethan asked, stepping back. His answer came immediately. A bright blue crack split open in the air above the street, like lightning frozen in one place. A metallic pod the size of a small car dropped from it, landing with a huge thud. Sparks shot out. Steam hissed. The entire street lit up in blue light. The girls gasped and hid behind Ethan instinctively. The pod door opened. 2 tall figures stepped out, wearing dark armor that looked almost alive. Their helmets had long glass visors glowing neon blue. Their footsteps were unnaturally quiet, despite their heavy size. They spoke in a language Ethan didn't understand, sharp, metallic phrases that sounded like commands. Rena whispered, "Galaxy hunters, elite trackers." Ethan's eyes widened. "Elite, you mean? They don't fail," Sarah finished. Trembling, the hunters began scanning the area with a long metal staff that emitted waves of blue energy. Whenever the staff passed near something warm like a metal pipe or trash bag, it beeped softly. "It searches for life signatures," Rena whispered. "Especially ours," Ethan swallowed. They were trapped. One end of the alley was blocked by the capsule, the other by the drone's red light. He took a shaky breath. "We hide now." He pushed open the side door of an abandoned laundry shop. The girls rushed inside, trying not to make noise. Ethan closed the door gently and held his ear against it. Outside, the hunters' footsteps echoed slowly. The drone joined them, its red light cutting through the darkness. Inside the laundry shop, everything was dusty, broken, abandoned. Washing machines rusted in place. Old soap packets lay scattered on the floor. The air smelled of wet metal. Lyra sat on the ground, hugging her knees. "They will find us," she whispered. Ethan moved to her. "Not if we stay calm. We wait for them to walk past." But Sierra's glowing patterns flashed with fear. "They won't walk past. They can smell our energy." Suddenly the doorknob shook. Ethan froze. The girls all covered their mouths in terror. The hunters were right outside. One of them twisted the knob again, harder this time. The metal creaked. The girls flinched. Ethan raised his finger to his lips, begging them not to make a sound. The knob twisted a third time, then stopped. Silenced. Then one hunter spoke through his helmet, the voice deep and cold. Life signatures. Faint, recently present. The second hunter replied, "They are close, very close." Ethan's heart hammered. Heavy footsteps moved along the door, then stopped right in front of it. A bright blue scanlight shone under the gap in the door. The girls pulled their feet back fast, just in time. The light hovered, almost seeing them. Then it turned away. The hunters walked further down the alley. The girls exhaled shakily, but Ethan's relief didn't last. Because outside, the hunters paused again, and one said coldly, "The human who hides them must be eliminated." And Ethan felt his stomach drop. They knew someone helped the girls escape. Lyra grabbed Ethan's arm, tears in her eyes. "Ethan, they're going to hunt you now, until you're gone." Ethan took a slow breath. Fear shook him, but he refused to step back. "Then we escape together," he whispered firmly. "I'm not leaving you behind." For the first time, the girls looked at him not with fear, but with hope. But the moment didn't last. Because outside, one of the hunters raised a hand and pointed directly at the laundry shop door. "They went inside," he said, and the hunters began walking toward them, this time with weapons drawn. The hunters approached the laundry shop door with slow, deadly steps. Their blue visors glowed brighter, scanning the walls as if they could see straight through them. Ethan's heartbeat thundered in the silence. He pulled the girls deeper inside, hiding behind the overturned washing machines. Sierra crouched behind him, whispering shakily, "We can't fight them. We are too weak. Our powers are unstable." Ethan clenched his teeth. "Then we don't fight. We survive." He looked around quickly. The back window, small, dusty, cracked, maybe just big enough for them to squeeze through. The doorknob twisted violently. Ethan didn't waste a second. "Move," he whispered urgently. The girls crawled behind him as he rushed toward the tiny window. He pushed it open with all his strength. Cold night air rushed in. "Go, go." Lyra climbed through first, then Rena. Sarah hesitated. Her legs were trembling too badly. "Sarah, come on," Ethan whispered fiercely. But before she could climb out, boom! The front door exploded inward. The hunters stepped inside, their long metal staffs glowing like deadly spears. Dust clouds filled the room. The drone hovered above them, scanning the air. Ethan grabbed Sierra's arm and pushed her toward the window. She slid out just as a blue blast of energy fired at the washing machine beside Ethan, exploding it into pieces. Ethan dove through the window, barely making it as the glass shattered behind him. They landed in a narrow back alley, coughing and stumbling. Sierra was shaking badly, her glowing patterns flickering like dying stars. Ethan grabbed her hands. "Hey, stay with me. We used too much power," she whispered weakly. "We need rest, but we can't stop." Rena tugged Ethan's sleeve. "We have to run. The hunters will circle around." Ethan nodded and led them out of the alley. His lungs burned, but he didn't stop. Not tonight. They moved through shadows, slipping behind parked cars and broken fences. The hunters' voices echoed behind them, cold, emotionless, tracking every direction. Life signature trail detected. Human scent present. Target group close. Ethan gritted his teeth. He had never been hunted before, never felt like prey. But tonight, every instinct screamed run. Finally, they reached a quiet construction site, dark, half-built, with steel beams like skeletons rising into the sky. "This place will help hide." "Your energy," Rena whispered. "Too much metal. Their scanners will glitch." Ethan guided them inside and found a hollow space beneath a work table. He helped the girls climb in, then crawled in beside them. It was cramped, cold, dusty, but safe for now. Lyra looked at him with big, sad eyes. Why are you helping us? You don't even know us, Ethan sighed. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm scared. But when I saw you starving, alone, I couldn't walk away. Sarah's voice was soft. No human has ever helped our kind, not without reward. Not without selling us later. Ethan looked hurt. I'm not like them. Rena stared into the darkness. Our home world was taken, our people captured. The collector hunts our species for our energy. We escaped by accident. But everyone who helps us dies. Ethan swallowed. Hard. So I'm marked now? Sarah nodded. Yes, they will hunt you too. Silence fell. For a moment, only their soft breathing filled the air. Then Ethan spoke quietly but with strength. Then they'll have to catch me first. The girls looked at him confused, surprised, almost hopeful. But before anyone could say more, a loud crash echoed through the construction site. The girls tensed. Ethan peeked out slowly and felt his blood freeze. A huge alien hunter bigger than the first two was standing at the entrance. Its visor glowed red instead of blue. Its armor was 3 times thicker, and it carried a weapon like a lightning cannon. It scanned the entire site with sweeping beams. This unit detects 4 life forms, it announced in a deep mechanical voice. Surrender recommended. Resistance pointless. Rena whispered, voice shaking. A red-class hunter. They never send one unless... Unless what? Ethan whispered. Unless the collector wants us alive. Ethan's stomach twisted. A shadow fell over their hiding spot. The red-class hunter turned toward them, and its glowing visor locked directly onto Ethan. The red-class hunter stepped forward, its heavy metal boots shaking the ground with each slow, calculated step. Its visor glowed a deep, predatory red as it scanned the shadows of the construction site. 4 life signatures confirmed, it announced. Surrender now. Punishment for resistance will be severe. Under the work table, the girls held each other tightly. Lyra's small hands trembled against Ethan's arm, her breath weak and fast. Rena whispered, we can't fight. That one, not even together. Ethan looked at them. Their faces were pale, exhausted, terrified. He knew they were too weak to run. They were too tired to use their powers. If they stayed hidden, the hunter would eventually find them anyway, and if he did nothing, they would be taken. Or worse. Ethan took a silent breath. His legs shook. His heart punched his ribs. Every instinct screamed hide, stay quiet, stay alive. But something inside him refused to listen. He crawled out from under the table. The girls gasped softly. Ethan, no! Sarah whispered desperately. Rena grabbed the edge of his shirt, but he gently pulled away. I won't let them take you, he said softly. Not while I'm breathing. The girls stared at him as if seeing something impossible. A human, an ordinary human, walking toward a creature built for war. Ethan stood up fully, exposed in the open. The red-class hunter turned its glowing visor toward him. Human identified, it said. You assisted fugitives. Surrender for painless termination. Ethan didn't move. He raised his hands, not in fear, but in defiance. They're kids, he said, voice steady despite his shaking body. Starving, terrified. They didn't hurt anyone. The hunter tilted its head. Irrelevant. They're alive, Ethan argued. They deserve to choose their fate. Incorrect, the hunter replied. Their fate was chosen by the collector. Ethan clenched his fists. Then I'm choosing mine. He stepped forward. The hunter paused. Its sensors flickered, trying to process something it wasn't built to understand. Humans weren't supposed to do this. Humans were supposed to run. Humans were supposed to beg. Humans were supposed to break. But Ethan stepped closer instead, tiny, fragile, unarmed. You want someone? Ethan said firmly. Then take me. Behind him, the girls froze in shock. The hunter's mechanical voice glitched for a moment. Human behavior. outside normal parameters, recalibrating. Ethan swallowed hard and kept talking. If you let them go, I'll come quietly. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. Ethan, stop. They don't spare anyone. Rena shook her head frantically. You can't offer your life for us. Sierra whispered, voice breaking. Why would you do this? Ethan didn't look back. He kept his eyes locked on the hunter. Because someone should have helped you long before I did, he said. If nobody else will, I will. The hunter lifted its massive arm. Energy built in its cannon, glowing brighter and brighter. But then something strange happened. The girls' bodies reacted to Ethan's bravery. Their glowing patterns pulsed with intense light, not fear this time, but something stronger. A protective instinct they didn't even know they had. Lyra crawled forward, shaking violently. Ethan, move, please, but Ethan whispered. Stay there. This is my choice. The Red-class hunter's cannon reached full charge. Termination authorized. A blinding flash burst forward, but just before it struck Ethan, Sierra screamed. Voice triggered a wave of raw energy that blasted across the construction site. The beam curved mid-air, deflected by a shimmering shield that erupted from her palms. Ethan stumbled backward as the energy beam shattered against the invisible barrier. The hunter's visor flickered. Unknown defense detected. Energy class unstable. Sierra fell to her knees, gasping, almost fainting from the effort. Rena and Lyra rushed to her side as their own powers began to awaken, surging in chaotic bursts of light and sound. Ethan grabbed Sierra before she collapsed. Hey, don't push yourself. She looked up at him weakly. You protected us. Our bodies reacted. We didn't choose it, Ethan. Our powers protected you. The Red-class hunter recalibrated, its weapons glowing again. New threat level. Significant. Reinforcements required. It raised its cannon, but now Ethan wasn't standing alone. 3 alien girls, glowing with rising dangerous power, stood behind him, leaning on each other, but ready to fight. And for the first time, the hunter took a step back. Dust swirled around the construction site. Metal beams rattled in the cold night air. The Red-class hunter stepped back, recalibrating its weapon, confused by the sudden spike of alien energy. Its red visor glowed brighter. Threat level rising, unknown power surge detected. Initiating containment protocol. Ethan stood in front of the girls, heart racing, legs shaking, but refusing to back down. Behind him, the 3 alien girls clung to each other as flickers of unstable power rippled across their glowing skin. Sierra's breath shook. We can't control this. Our powers aren't ready. Rena bit her lip. If we use too much, our bodies will collapse, Lyra whispered. But if we don't, Ethan dies. Ethan turned slightly, just enough to glance at them. Don't risk yourselves for me. But Rena shook her head fiercely. You risked your life first. Now it's our turn. The Red-class hunter lifted its cannon again, charging up with a deep electrical growl. Blue lightning curled around its armored arms. The air itself felt heavy, like the whole site was trapped inside an invisible storm. Ethan braced himself. But the girls stepped forward, slowly, weakly, but with purpose. Their glowing patterns merged into one pulse, their energy sinking. Naturally, as if something ancient inside them finally woke up, Sierra raised her trembling hands. A shimmering shield formed around her palms, this time brighter and stronger than before. Rena's hair lifted in the air, creating rings of vibrating sound that pulsed gently, waiting for her command. Lyra's eyes glowed white, and sharp streaks of bioluminescent light traveled along her arms. The Red-class hunter tilted its head. Combined ability detected. Probability of threat significant. Neutralization required. It fired. A giant beam of blue energy exploded toward them. Ethan squeezed his eyes shut, but Sierra stepped forward, screaming as she forced her hands outward. Boom! The beam struck her shield, and the whole construction site lit up with white light. The shield held for only 2 seconds before it cracked like glass. Rena responded instantly. She clapped her hands together, releasing a powerful sonic wave that curved around the broken shield and slammed into the hunter's cannon. Throwing its aim off, the beam ripped into a crane instead, slicing it in half. Metal screeched as the crane toppled to the ground. The hunter staggered backward. Error. Defense. Pattern unexpected. Lyra ran forward, her hands glowing like burning stars. She dragged her fingers across the ground, leaving behind glowing trails of light. These trails rose into the air and wrapped around the hunter's legs like energy vines. Ethan stared in shock. "Lyra, what are you doing?" She gritted her teeth. "Helping." The vines tightened, glowing brighter and brighter, holding the hunter in place, but the effort crushed her. She fell to her knees, panting hard. Rena rushed to her. "Lyra, stop, you'll burn out." Lyra shook her head weakly. "If I let go, he'll kill Ethan." The hunter struggled, metal groaning under the force of the glowing vines. Containment breach, increasing weapon output. It raised its cannon. Syrah looked at Ethan, eyes filled with fear, but also trust. "Stand behind us," she whispered. Ethan didn't move. "No, I'm not leaving you." Syrah's eyes softened. "Ethan, we're not leaving you either." Rena placed her hand on the ground. Sound waves spread like ripples in water. "We fight together." The hunter fired again, this time a rapid burst of smaller beams. Ethan ducked as Syrah threw her shield up. Rena sent sonic shockwaves that deflected several blasts into the steel beams around them. Lyra tightened her energy vines, pulling the hunter's legs, forcing it down on one knee. The ground shook as the armored giant slammed down. This was the strongest attack the 3 girls had ever made. Their powers were unstable, wild, and far beyond what their young bodies were meant to handle. The Red-class hunter roared in a mechanical voice. "Warning, system overheating. Calling reinforcements." 3 bright signals shot into the sky. Flare-like beacons. Ethan cursed under his breath. "Reinforcements? How many?" Rena's voice trembled. "Dozens, maybe more." Syrah collapsed suddenly, her shield flickering out. Rena caught her before she hit the ground. Lyra's vines dimmed and vanished as she fainted forward. They had given everything they had, and it still wasn't enough. The hunter rose slowly, damaged but functional. Termination. Now unavoidable. Ethan stepped in front of the unconscious girls. His fists clenched. "If you want them, you go through me." The Red-class hunter aimed directly at his chest, but just as it fired, a huge shockwave burst across the site. The air cracked. Ground trembled, and an enormous shadow fell from the sky. Not a hunter, not a drone, not a friend, something else. Something powerful. Something the Red-class hunter recognized instantly. It stepped back in fear. The girls, half-conscious, whispered the same word with terror. "The Collector." The ground trembled as the massive shadow descended. Dust lifted in waves. Half-broken steel beams bent under invisible pressure. Even the Red-class hunter, a machine built for war, took several steps back, its glowing visor flickering in fear. From the sky, a giant vessel materialized, its shape bending light like a living creature. It landed silently, almost gently, but every part of Ethan's soul felt the weight of something ancient and monstrous arriving. The Collector, Syrah, barely conscious, whispered with trembling breath, "He found us." Rena clung to her, terrified. "We're not strong enough." "Not now." Lyra lay weakly beside them, her pale glow fading. Ethan knelt by all 3, checking their pulses, brushing dust from their faces. They were exhausted, drained, broken, and he had nothing left to fight with. The massive vessel's side opened. A tall figure stepped out. He was not armored like the hunters. He wore flowing robes of dark metallic fabric. His height was unnatural, almost twice Ethan's height. His long fingers ended in glowing symbols, and several floating metal rings orbited around his head like a crown. His eyes were cold, silver, and soulless. The collector's voice echoed with layers human tones mixed with mechanical distortion. 3 royal fugitives, and 1 disobedient human. Rena crawled toward Ethan, pulling herself weakly. "Don't let him touch us." "Please." Ethan held her hand. "I won't, I promise." The collector studied Ethan with disturbing curiosity. "You risked your life for these creatures," he said calmly. "Humans rarely protect anything without reward." "Unusual." Ethan stood slowly, shaking but steady. "They're kids. You hunted them like animals." "They are property," the collector said. "Energy vessels. Born with abilities. Valuable across galaxies. Their lives are not theirs to choose." Sarah tried to push herself up, but her arm gave out. "We're not property," she whispered. The collector raised a hand. Her body lifted into the air like a puppet, choking on invisible pressure. "Sarah!" Rena cried. "Stop!" Ethan shouted that the collector ignored him. "You are broken, weak, untrained, without purpose." Ethan stepped forward, fire in his voice. "Let her go." The collector turned his cold eyes toward the human, and Ethan felt something invade his mind. A cold scanning sensation, like icy fingers searching his memories. "Your actions are irrational. You gained nothing, and yet you protected them." The collector tilted his head. "Why?" Ethan grit his teeth. "Because someone had to." The collector released Sarah. She collapsed into Rena's arms, gasping. "You value them," the collector said thoughtfully. "Interesting. Emotions make humans weak, but also unpredictable." The floating metal rings around his head began to glow. Ethan pushed the girls behind him. "You're not taking them." The collector extended a hand, palm forward. "So be it. You will die first." A spear of light formed at his fingertips and shot toward Ethan. The girls screamed. But at the last second, a barrier erupted in front of Ethan, a powerful, golden, crystalline shield, nothing like the unstable shields the girls produced. This one was solid, ancient, controlled. The beam shattered. The collector stepped backward, shocked. "What is this?" The shield slowly faded. Behind Ethan, Sarah, Rena, and Lyra were glowing again. But this glow was different. It wasn't chaotic. It wasn't unstable. It was synchronized. Their bodies floated slightly, connected in one pulse. Their energy merged into a shape behind them, a shimmering silhouette of their species' ancient guardian. Lyra whispered, "Our powers reacted to Ethan again." Rena nodded, tears in her eyes. "He protected us. Our energy chose him." Sarah looked at Ethan with pure belief. "You are our anchor." The collector's voice glitched, filled with anger now. "Impossible. Their race has no anchor. They cannot bond with a human." But he was wrong. The girl stood behind Ethan, glowing brighter, forming a triangle around him. Their combined power flared like a rising star. Ethan felt it warm, powerful, protective, flowing into him without hurting him. The collector raised both hands, preparing an attack far stronger than before. "Then I will destroy all of you." He fired, but this time, Ethan didn't freeze. He stepped forward. The girl's power surged through him, around him, with him. When the collector's blast reached them, the merged energy exploded outward like a shockwave of pure starlight. The Red-class hunter was thrown across the site. The crane collapsed, the ground cracked. The sky itself glowed. When the light faded, the collector's vessel was cracked. His armor flickered. His glowing rings were broken. He stared at Ethan with disbelief. A human, connected to 3 royal vessels. This changes everything. He retreated into his damaged ship. It rose shakily into the sky and vanished through a warped tear. The hunters fled with him. Silence fell over the construction. Sight. Ethan collapsed. To his knees, exhausted. The girls, drained but alive, crawled to him. They wrapped weak arms around him, trembling from the energy collapse. "You saved us," Sarah whispered. "No," Ethan said softly. "We saved each other." Lyra leaned, her head on his shoulder. "We want to stay with you." Rena added, voice soft, "If you accept us." "We're yours now, forever." Ethan smiled tiredly. "Your family now, always." The three alien girls hugged him tightly. But in the broken sky above them, three massive warp tiers opened. Dozens of ships emerged. The Collector had gone for now, but he was returning with an entire army, and the real war was only beginning.